Welcome, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Global Neonatal Podcast. Today it's just me hosting Mbozu because my amazing co-host Shelly-Ann isn't able to make it today, but I'll really try to channel her amazing energy throughout this episode. And yeah, we're really exciting uh, podcast we're having today where we'll have an incredible guest I'm going to introduce. Her name is Dr. Olufunke Bolaji. She's a consultant pediatrician and neonatologist at the Federal Teaching Hospital Ido-Ekiti, an associate professor at Afe Babalola University in Nigeria. She leads neonatal unit at her hospital and serves as co-principal investigator of the preterm Africa study. She's a co-lead of PANSA, Partnership for Accelerating Neonatal Survival Across Africa, country lead for the African Neonatal Network, and ethics advisor for the SNP Africa trial. She provides technical expertise to Nigeria's Federal Ministry of Health and currently leads the development of the national roadmap for scaling up newborn commodities. She is the chair of the Advocacy and Collaboration Committee of the African Neonatal Association and is a passionate advocate for improving the health of newborns in resource limited settings. Amazing story. And hi, Olufunke. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, Bozo. Good afternoon from Nigeria, and thank you so much for having me on this show. It's really a privilege to have this chat with you. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm so excited to chat with you today and just hear about your story. So, the first question we usually ask our guests is what inspired them into their journey through pediatrics and neonatology, and what drew them specifically to neonatology. So, could you please share a bit about your career journey and what led you to newborn babies?
Okay, thank you very much for the question. I got into medicine in the first place because my parents advised me to be a doctor. And I find it interesting when I hear people's stories and they say they've always wanted to be a doctor. And I'm like, no, it's different for me. I wanted to be an accountant. I loved adding up figures and getting balances and all of that. One day my parents called me and felt, look, we think you would make a good doctor. And in our setting, there's a unifying exam called JAMB, and you need to fill in what you want to do there. So just like that, I had to swap. And I did accounts in secondary school. I did economics. And those are all things for social sciences. But thankfully, I also did biology and physics and chemistry. And that's how medicine started. And I think it was one of the best decisions they could have made for one of their children. And they supported me. My family supported me, and we got out of medical school eventually in 2003. In Nigeria, back in those days, there were lots of industrial action. We call them strikes. So students get to spend more years in school than originally budgeted by the curriculum. So eventually, we finished 2003, and then it now came to choosing one specialty. um, my background has really been one of children, church choirs, teaching children in Sunday school and all of that. So I've always kind of loved children. So going through medical school and internship, and I got to see that there's actually an avenue for me to deal with children and provide um, be an avenue to bring good health back to them when they're sick. So that's kind of helped me to make a decision on what specialty I wanted to do. And of course, I had great mentors along the way. And then after the general pediatrics, getting into neonatology was really a lot of mentorship and having people just hold my hand and guide me. So I had quite a number of um, senior professors who helped me to lean towards neonatology. It's still around me, Professor Adebami and Professor Wa. So they were neonatologists ahead of me, and they kind of helped me to see how I was gravitating towards this. So I had to do my part two dissertation in neonatology. And ever since then, 2014, I've been a newborn. Of course, I still get to see pediatrics patients, on request and community service and all those things. And we still do regular academic meetings on pediatrics. But I've worked consistently in the newborn now for 11 years. And it's been quite it, right? I could do this for free.
I love that. Um, just out of curiosity, what is like your favorite thing about being a neonatologist? Like from the top of your mind, maybe what you enjoy the most.
The fact that babies actually communicate with you without speaking the normal language we're used to. And it's one of the things I love to tell students that, people wonder, how do you take care of newborns? They can't tell you what's wrong. And I'm like, they're speaking all the time. But it's up to you whether you understand what they are saying or not. But and they always say the truth. Exactly how it was, they would tell you. So, that is amazing to me. Yeah. We actually understand what the babies are saying.
I love that. And more about the babies. You do lead the neonatal unit at the Federal Teaching Hospital in Ido-Ekiti. Can you tell us more about the hospital and the kind of care your team provides?
So thank you again. I'm happy to talk about my team because they're an amazing team. A newborn unit in our hospital, Federal Teaching Hospital, is a team like no other. This is one place where the doctors, the nurses, the health attendants all work together as a team such that we can achieve the best outcomes. Of course, we have mortalities, but even in our mortalities, our slogan in our newborn unit is to do our very best. Very, very best. That is within the scope of science, within what is available for us at present. So we always promise that we will do our best, and that keeps us going. So we have a team of 26 nurses in our newborn unit. We have a team of 5 or 6 doctors. It varies sometimes by the flow of people that we have. And when I first started at our newborn unit, there was a senior neonatologist there, Dr. Adibara. She's left to another place now, but she built very good templates groundwork to build on in the unit. So first we were a level 2 unit in just basic care, infections. We did preterms, but basic care. But with all that we've now been able to do around with collaborations and all of that, we have been able to move to a level 3, 3A facility. So we're able to give surfactants, we're able to do caffeine, we're able to ventilate, we're able to do non-invasive ventilation, we're able to do sepsis, and of course, we still do a lot of collaboration and research. So it's really a team that I'm proud of, and it's a unit that I'm proud of. And apart from what the unit itself does, we also have excellent support from the hospital management. The admin building is just right ahead of me. And if we need something, it just takes walking out to the chief executive's office and saying, sir, we need this, and we can be sure we'll have that support. So it's doing the best that we can from the clinician's point of view, but also having the hospital management support, because really you can't do much without the money. So, but they gave us the support, administrative support, financial support to be able to do places. And I know every time maybe I write a letter or the unit writes a letter for something, we're always sure to put the line that we thank you for giving us the environment where which we can amplify our careers and our profession. That's really important to us that the hospital management supports us. So that's what it is like at Federal Teaching Hospital Ido-Ekiti. And we have quite a number of collaborations with the hospitals around us, such that we're not working in isolation. When we were chatting earlier, I also said that we just come back from a community engagement trip, seeing the peripheral centers around us, the primary healthcare centers, even the traditional birth attendants. and just having that conversation and seeing how we can help one another. What babies should they be referring? Which babies are desperately sick? All those kind of things. So we do a lot of that in our unit. Thank you.
I love that. I love how you've um elevated the hospital admin in your hospital and how they are very receptive and accommodating to your requests. Just more about Ido-Ekiti. Where is it in Nigeria for our listeners who don't know much about Nigeria? I myself have never been to Nigeria. It's on my list,
You
but if you could
should.
just share about, like, I definitely should.
Okay, so Ido-Ekiti is in Ekiti State. It's one of the smallest states in Nigeria. So I actually work in a rural setting. It's a really rural setting, but I like it that way. Been here for I've been here for 15 years now. It's southwest of Nigeria, and if you know Lagos, Ekiti State is some 5 hours drive from Lagos. There is a flight. It doesn't come to Ekiti. It comes to a nearby city called Akure. And Akure to here is about 1 hour drive. So people should come. We've had people coming in to see what we do.
Lovely. And what is your bed capacity like at your hospital? You mentioned the doctors and nurses are around 26 to 5, and I'm just curious how busy your ward gets.
It's good that you asked. We have a 36-bedded unit, but we don't have 100% capacity all the time. So it's not very busy, but what I like about it that it gives us the opportunity to focus well on each baby that we have. Either rather than having to rush through all the babies, we can be sure that each baby that comes here gets maximum care. There's always a consultant on call, there's a senior registrar, there's a junior doctor on call, and there are nurses on call. So in the intensive care unit part of our ward, we try to maintain at least one nurse to two babies at the most.
Thank you for sharing about Ido-Ekiti. And I'm just curious, you say it's a level 3 facility, level 3 newborn care facility in a rural setting of Nigeria. Is that typical for Nigeria to have level 3 newborn care facilities in a rural environment? Because I know for settings like where I'm from in Zambia, that is not something that's found or usual. So just curious about that.
Yeah, nice question. It's good you asked. So the hospital has upgraded over the years. It used to be a general hospital first and then a medical center. And then by virtue of partnerships and collaborations, it got to where it is now that we can actually have a level 3 center. So it serves four of the states which we share borders with. And it's perhaps in terms of bed capacity, um, the largest we would have around us now. The community has also grown over the years. Compared to 15 years ago when I came, it's also grown. But you wouldn't compare Ekiti to Lagos, for instance, or to the capital of Nigeria, Abuja. Yeah, it's so way off for many people. But we're doing amazing things, and it's good. And some of the beauties of having this here is that the usual bureaucratic processes you would find in the bigger centers in the cities, you won't find them here, and you can get things done like really quick. I think that's an advantage. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Um, Linking to my question, what does the broader healthcare landscape look like um, when you compare where you are to the national context of Nigeria in
Mhm.
terms of neonatal care?
So brilliant question. Um, Nigeria, for all intents and purposes, is still one of the low and middle income countries, and the newborn statistics are not the best, sadly. Our latest NDHS figures say we have newborn mortality as high as 41 for every 1,000 live births that we have, and that's not very good. um, the Nigerian Society of Neonatal Medicine is really trying our best to re-strategize, looking what and currently with the help of the Federal Ministry of Health, we're trying to develop a roadmap document on the national scale of essential or priority newborn commodities. And all of this is really geared towards achieving SDG 3 and saying that we're able to lower newborn mortality to 12 or less per thousand. So the indices are not the best, but you will find pockets of excellence, I would say. I mean, if you were in Lagos, for instance, which we we locally call the Center of Excellence. I mean, you can get virtually any level of care that you want for a newborn in Lagos, as far as you want it. But there are also the rural settings, there are the hard to reach places, there are the places that are faced with internal displacement, there are those that there are communal clashes, and in those kind of places, maternal mortality, newborn mortality are really high. It's not just about the newborn mortality, it's also maternal mortality. And sadly, again, Nigeria has one of the highest maternal mortalities in the world. But our new Minister of Health, Professor Ali Pati, is doing well with a sector-wide approach and really trying to get in front and bringing in a lot of new programs. The Mami is one of them. And there's a lot of collaboration going on to see that we're focusing on the areas. For instance, one of the great interventions is brought in is having cesarean section free for every mother that needs it. And I mean, if you think about newborn resuscitation, for instance, if a mother is able to get CS when she needs it, then it's unlikely that the baby will be asphyxiated. So, I mean, and what the leading causes of newborn mortality in our environment are still, neonatal sepsis, preterm birth, and perinatal asphyxia. So, getting to address one major part of it, and with all the things we're doing with preterm birth, we're hoping that when the next figures are released, that these things will show that we're working hard to bring down those bad statistics that we have in country.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I like that phrase you used, pockets of excellence. Even though you have, like, there's that landscape of um, challenging areas, but then you still have the pockets of excellence. And Ido-Ekiti sounds like it is a pocket of excellence. So, yeah, more about you. You've trained in Nigeria, in the UK, and now you're completing a master's in public health. How have these varied experiences influenced your perspective and practice in neonatal care?
Hmm. That's something to reflect on, isn't it? So, training in Nigeria MBBS then and even now is one of the most diverse experiences one can have, because you get to learn the basics, the science of medicine, and then learn the things that are peculiar to the tropics. Still learn what happens in the temperate regions to in the high income countries. But I mean, whereas students in the UK, for instance, may need a one year gap year to go and do tropical medicine, I am right in the center of the tropical medicine. So I don't need a 1 year anywhere. I am right in the center of the tropical medicine. And I mean, so it gives us this global perspective. And then because we're low and middle income country, I mean, there's a limit to how much um high level interventions in terms of technology, robotics, and all of that we have. So we really learn the groundwork, gives us that sound background that we need. So that was good for me. For fellowship, that took me to pediatrics, and then getting to the UK first by virtue of the Royal College of Pediatrics and Child Health, and I remain forever grateful. I got a visiting fellowship, and I was at Preston, one of the NHS hospitals there under Dr. Richard Gupta, and she was amazing. That was my first eye opener to see how things are done for newborns in high income country. And it got me thinking that, okay, we can do some of this. So this is non-invasive ventilation. We can get to do this too. So now seeing neonatology in in the global perspective, in what would they do in high income countries? What are they doing? Why is it that their babies are not dying? What drugs are they using? How are they doing infection control? How are they, um, doing interventions, timeliness of interventions? So that began to influence some of the protocols we have back at home. And it shaped us. I mean, for the first time, we also developed protocols in the newborn unit. So if you have this, what do you do? If you have this, what do you do? So that there is a standard. I first learned that when I got to the UK. And then afterwards, I now did this, amazing postgrads in neonatology. And that literally turned my life around. I mean, there's no other way to say it. I mean, I had to give a feedback to our teachers, and they were like, this is the kind of thing we want to have. It was, it wasn't in person, it was online, but honestly, with Southampton, I felt like I was in class every single day. Our teachers had live sessions with us every single week. So we learned a lot, and then I now began to see um, interventions that now have been proven to be groundbreaking in newborn care. There I learned about caffeine. We had always done aminophylline here. Then I learned about surfactants. And then, like, if they can get it, then we can get it. So, I mean, around us here, the 4 or 5 states around us, we're the only ones that stock surfactants. But wherever they are selling it, we make sure that we get it. And then we serve as a hub. So if my neighbor in Ilori wants surfactant, oh, Bolaji, they have surfactant, I have it, you'll get it in there. I can quickly send it. Unlike them getting it all the way from Lagos, which is another 6 hours drive. And we didn't mind. We can do that, and we're happy to do that. We get caffeine, we use it. CPAP, mechanical ventilation, even the big centers around us. And for the first time, there was 4 or 5 years back now, we were able to successfully take care of a 24 weeks gestation. That was that took us to the heights that we'd never imagined was possible. 24 weeks, 600 grams in a public hospital. That was just the height of it. So we've been able to maintain the standards. Sure, we still lose babies. I mean, sadly, we will still lose a term baby here. You will still lose a 3,400 grams baby here. Asphyxia presents late, birth traumas. But I mean, really getting to the nitty gritties of newborn care, doing some parenteral alimentation, things that are only seen in high income countries. These are the experiences I got from learning in the UK and collaborations. For me, the key word for all these things is collaboration. It's another thing to study. It's another thing to build worthwhile networks that will lead you on to things. And I mean, the people I've met along the way, I mentioned Dr. Richard Gupta. I must talk about Professor Joy Lon. I must talk about Alex Stevenson, the African Neonatal Network that has just opened up our horizon. So now I don't feel like I'm in a tiny corner of the world anymore, Ido-Ekiti. I mean, the things I do here, we can do it virtually anywhere. And it's not just me, it's the team. There's team building, African Neonatal Network, African Neonatal Association, research partnerships. So it doesn't really matter where you are. Get the education, get the networks, and you can do whatever you want to do.
I love that. And this leads us to the next question. You are the chair of advocacy and collaboration committee of the African Neonatal Association, with Anna, with the African Neonatal Association's first conference coming up in Kigali this August. How has your role evolved as the collab and advocacy queen? And what is your broader vision for Anna's future impact?
So thank you. I'm delighted to talk about African Neonatal Association because I think it's really a game changer for the continent. I mean, for the first time, we're bringing together neonatologists and all pediatricians that work in the newborn space. I mean, there's the what is the European one called now? The Joint European Neonatal Societies. I mean, the UK has its own, um, Australia has, Canada has, America has, but we didn't have anything in Africa. So it was so timely, so inspirational, if you like, that Alex started all of this, and we continue to give him the credit for pulling us together. But after pulling us together, somehow he seemed to have a knack for who would lead this and who would lead this. And we all started from scratch. I mean, we didn't have prior experience on this. We were all clinicians, busy clinicians, dealing with water, dealing with infection control. But he says, no, we needed to do this. So I mean, somehow I got into advocacy and collaboration committee without a lot of experience, but now both says I'm the queen, and I don't know. We've learned from bigger organizations. We've learned from well-established organizations. We've had amazing people hold our hand. I talked about Professor Joynon, Emma Maggie at Gates Foundation, other associations within the continent. And then we were blessed to have strategic leaders in themselves, apart from Alex. Matar is there in Tanzania. John Baptiste is in Rwanda. Frank is amazing, Francophone is doing excellently well with our research. But you asked about my own role. So first it was putting together a team. We always need a team who would work with us. And then at the beginning, I don't know how many emails we wrote, 30, 40, anybody, we're the organization. We think you're amazing. Can you partner with us? Some responded, some did not, but we were lucky that the ones that responded were the best of the lot. So they helped us. KC Foundation reached out to us and said they would support our office. They would support starting up the organization. They would support our journal. And then the London School, Nest 360, reached out to us. We signed a partnership and now we have cancer. So, I mean, if you ask me now in hindsight, advocacy, collaboration are really they're really the powerhouse of any organization that wants to make an impact, because you can't do it by yourself. You want to do something on ROP. There are people doing ROP. Reach out to them, learn from their experience. Silke Mother at Global Foundation, she was sharing with us a few weeks back that the way they've grown from European Foundation now to global, they've made mistakes along the way. They've learned some lessons and now they're where they are. So if we have another organization, go to GFCNI and learn from them. Collaborate, collaborate. So, I mean, when I started, I saw this course at the University of Washington on global health, advocacy, and policy. So I quickly did it. It was a 12-week short course. I did it to help me in my role, and I learned a lot. So that role has helped me to develop myself, develop a team, build up teams, and then by learning to, I guess I've also become better. Now I know Mbozu. I didn't know you a few weeks back. Now I'm on global neonatal podcast. It's all collaboration, networking, and that's really important. For me, that's key. I hope I answered your question.
You have, and you've elevated a few of your networks, and just explained how collaboration is so key to growth. And I appreciate you sharing that. Um, so back to the collaborations, you have published over 30 peer-reviewed articles and serve as a reviewer for international journals. What are your core research interests, and what kind of questions are you most driven to explore?
Thank you. I started writing perhaps as a registrar. I had great mentors. Professor Idechi held my hand, Professor Adepami, and they taught me, okay, write this part of it. I'll look at it. Write this part of it. I'll look at it. Okay, can you be a second author? Can you be a first author? Can you be a corresponding author? So over the years, I mean, as my specialty, subspecialty has developed, my interest has also gravitated to where I am now, where I'm most drawn to preterm births. I'm most drawn to things on newborn sepsis. I'm most drawn to things on metrics, newborn metrics. And the people one works with so also tend to influence your interests. So, because I'm interested in neonatal sepsis, I found this group, SNP Africa, doing an amazing adaptive trial looking at some antibiotic regimen. And I got to be ethics advisor on that project. I mean, preterm births, we have a clinical trial, a large clinical trial going on, one of the first on respiratory management in Africa. And this is led by Africans and is being done in Africa. So that's preterm birth. I mean, I also have a passion for newborn resuscitation. So it's NISOM, that's Nigerian Society of Neonatal Medicine, and then one of the leaders in respiratory care in Nigeria, Dr. Ikechukwu Okonkwo. We've done a lot of work on training people, on getting respiratory support training to to the peripheral centers. Really amazing work has been done, and this is done yearly, 2 times a year, 3 times a year. So the private person doing it, the organization doing it, and we've gotten some papers out in that regard. So respiratory support, neonatal resuscitation, preterm births, and of course the metrics and sepsis. And you will see that the research that we're doing in recent times have really been around these key areas. I must bring to the fore what the African Neonatal Association is doing with VON. That's our African Neonatal Network, which is the first database of its kind, having real-time data across 23 facilities on the continent. And with that data, we're able to do benchmarking, we're able to do comparisons, we're able to bring out some projects for quality improvement. Because, I mean, when you use your data well, then you can identify things that need quality improvement. And that has gone on now for about 2.5 years. And we're due to review what we've done so far also at the Kigali meeting in August, just a few days before the conference that will be coming up.
I love that you have multiple interests and you found different avenues to explore that. And I can assume it's through collaborating, through advocacy, through your network. So thank you for sharing all the work you're involved in. So you mentioned something about preterm Africa study being led by researchers in Africa and African researchers. For researchers based in Africa who are just getting started with research, merging research and clinical care, what practical advice would you offer for getting a foot in the door? And based on your own journey, what's key to successfully merging clinical work with research?
Uh, if I wanted to say the things I've been been blessed to um, have a good team in your local
Mm.
newborn units. Work as a team. Don't do anything in isolation. Work with the nurses. There's a lot we can learn from them. Work with the biomed engineers. There's a lot we can learn from them. Build up a team first. Second thing, keep your data. Even if you're only seeing 10 babies, keep the data on those 10 babies. Look for what is standardized data and try to keep data on the babies that you're seeing. We doctors kind of fall into the habit of working and citing lines and resuscitating babies and giving these antibiotics. But we need to keep the data. The data that we keep is really the evidence for the work that we're doing. And then publish what you have. There are lots of, journals, open access, and there's a lot of support for researchers in low income countries. And we can publish what we have. When you publish what you have, someone would read it. Someone in Australia wants to work on oxygen in Nigeria, and you did something on the SpO2 readings of all your babies at admission. They'll pick it up. One of the hospitals we work with at the African Neonatal Network is a faith-based hospital. It's the first hospital in Nigeria. It's called Sacred Heart Hospital in Abeokuta. They have a partnership with a big research group in Australia who are working on oxygen. So whatever you have, publish it, and then go for meetings, go for conferences, come for the African Neonatal Association conference in August. You will meet people you can collaborate with. So please come for conferences. I can never forget how much impact the International Maternal and Newborn Health Conference in Cape Town last year, how much impact it made in terms of research. We found groups who were interested in caffeine. We found groups who were interested in CPAP, and they want to work with us. So build a team, keep your data, publish, collaborate with people, look for people with similar interests, and just keep doing the work and go for conferences. African Neonatal Association. And I think somewhere along the way you will meet the people. I feel there's one key part of your question I'm still missing, but I can't remember now.
I think you have touched on it somewhat, but you did actually at the beginning on how do you successfully merge clinical with research. I think you talked about the team,
Yes.
working as a team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, research is important. It's important to document what you're doing. I mean, Alex at ANA at the very beginning, he said we need to have data. When we have data, then we can make informed decisions on the data that we have. So keep your data, publish your data, be diligent with data keeping, keep electronic data. Gone are the days when everything is on paper and something happens to the case note or the case records, it's lost forever. So keep your electronic data and publish. I mean, I met Albert at Zambia, and he had been doing a lot of work on caffeine, and I didn't know until there was an opportunity for ANA to do some survey on caffeine, and then we got in touch, and now we're co-authors on one or two papers. So you would find co-authors you can work with and collaborate with your local either pediatric or neonatal association if you have. Be a voice, be an advocate for the babies, and just trust God that good things will come your way.
Love that. Thank you for sharing that and just elevating the importance of data, teamwork, effective teamwork, and yeah, trusting the process and trusting God. Um, you sort of touched on a few of the projects you're involved in, and I was wondering if you could share about one of them. It could be the preterm Africa study or PANSA, like walking us through what the trial is all about, how you're involved, how you got involved as well, if you don't mind. Whichever you feel like sharing amongst the projects you're involved in.
Okay, thank you. It's a good opportunity for us to talk about what we're able to do where we have. I've talked a bit on preterm Africa, so maybe I should talk on PANSA. So PANSA is where we have codenamed it as the largest neonatal partnership in Africa because that's what it is. Codename largest partnership. Nothing short of it. So, Nest 360 have been going on and strong for quite a while in Africa, and there's so many facilities, so many babies covered between them. And then, I mean, Professor Joylon looked for an opportunity to partner with, I mean, the newest kid on the block, African Neonatal Association. And I mean, the beauty of African Neonatal Association is that we literally have members in every country in Africa. So, I mean, this was pitched to us, the leadership, the executive committee looked at it, and we thought it was nice. had a lot of potential, and we signed an MOU. And then the opportunity now came to align our data. And that really is what the Panzer project is about, aligning the data of Nest 360 with African Neonatal Network. So in African Neonatal Network, we already have 23 facilities and then about 50 something facilities on Nest 360. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, in Mbozu. I know you're also in touch with what's happening at Nest 360. But between the two partnerships now, we have about 70 facilities, and that brings the total number of lives that we can save to 500,000 babies. Think about that. That's a lot of impact. So when we say it's code name largest partnership, it's not just word of mouth, it's actually the largest partnership, 500,000 babies. What are we hoping to do? We're hoping to use that data to develop research questions across these facilities that can be used to drive change. We're hoping to do implementation research in KMC and infection control, which have really been identified even by the WHO as two of the largest impact areas. And we're not just doing implementation research because we want results. We're also going to be building early career researchers along the way. So mentorship, partnership, collaboration, and really developing the next generation of African researchers. So you talked about having African researchers. True, we need all the help we can get from the global north, but we also need to develop our own things. And in these days that the tide is shifting, we also need to be able to do our own research on our priority topics and do our own research the way that African researchers think that they should be done, being able to get funding for ourselves. All this is important. And getting the results that are most important to us as identified by data. So one of the things that the African Neonatal Network has done, really the background work was by Vaughan, and we're always grateful for the amazing support that they've given us. The good thing about the data from ANN is that you can benchmark yourself against, I mean, across all the 23 centers. So if we say KMC rate in Ido-Ekiti is 80%, we can see what it is like across all the other facilities. If we say our infection rate, this was our mortality rate. At the click of a button, I can see what it is like across all the other facilities. So kudos to Vaughan for developing such an amazing database, again, also building on their own global network. And now we're able to align that with Nest 360. So, I mean, it just beats the imagination how much we can really do through that partnership. And that partnership has been signed off April 1, and it's a 3-year project. And at the end of 3 years, we're really hoping to have had that much impact. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing. Another testament to your collaboration and advocacy skills, being part of that partnership grant study. I think you sort of touched on this in at the end of your um, explanation of the work you're involved in. What does decolonizing neonatal research really mean on the ground, and how does it change the relationship between researchers, communities, and funders? More so in our context.
Hmm. I'll give some credit. I'll give a lot of credit, for instance, for whatever I say on that topic to Dr. Osayeme Ekagwere. Is Nigerian. He works in the US. He's a neonatologist in the US. He's the principal investigator for preterm Africa. So when the initial ideas for this came up, we talked a lot with our mentors, Professor Nick Embleton, Steve Allen. We want to do research on caffeine. We want to do research on how to deliver surfactants. But all the evidence for caffeine comes from high-income countries. And sure, it was groundbreaking research, overwhelming evidence. But who says that the evidence is the same thing you will get in an African baby? We know just because of the color of the skin, it shouldn't change, but really, there was no evidence on caffeine a clinical trial, evidence in terms of a clinical trial, a randomized control trial or anything from Africa. All the evidence was from high income countries, and we've simply taken it like that. So we said, okay, we want to do research on this, a clinical trial on caffeine, on CPAP, on African babies, and it's going to be led by African researchers. Now, who would fund it? You wouldn't find a lot of funding for that because the first impulse is there's already evidence on it. But true, there's evidence on it, but there's no evidence on it from African babies. So, I remember one of my beautiful friends, lovely friends, in one of the funding agencies says, but the evidence is overwhelming. Why do you want to do another research? But no, we don't have any evidence. We don't have any evidence from Africa. So if you said decolonize it, that's one aspect. So we were really proud of Preterm Africa, even though sites in the US, I guess spent is often here to check on what we are doing. It's coming to Nigeria again in a few weeks. The co-principal investigator, amazing researcher called Dr. Helen. She's in Kenya. I'm also a co-principal investigator. We have country leads in francophone countries in Central African Republic, one of the few places that people don't go because of an humanitarian crisis there. But we're there for Preterm Africa. We're also in Ghana. Yes, I was in Central African Republic 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it's good to, they were happy, they were enthusiastic, they were ecstatic that they get to partake in this trial. I mean, and the high-income countries are doing a lot. We will never, never say, they haven't done anything for us, but sometimes you need to shift the landscape of the research. While somebody in Canada, for example, may be interested in genetic imprinting in neonatal sepsis, I am talking about infection control. Do they have water? Do they have hand sanitizers? So the research interests need to be decolonized, if you put it that way. The people who would do the research, the funding, the narratives need to be from us. Why neonatology is the same all over the world, but the interests will differ based on the problems that you have in that particular setting. And for Preterm Africa, it's a pragmatic trial. Even though the standards are there, the protocol is there, we will still allow each country to implement it in a way that is feasible. How we will do it in Nigeria in Ido-Ekiti might not be the way they will do it in Kumasi in Ghana. So we've left those things, and it's something similar that the SNP Africa too is doing. Dr. Julie Bilecki and Angela Dramoski, amazing people and doing work that is peculiar to us, and leading it the way that we want to do it. I'm sure there are other aspects of this topic that I perhaps have not touched on, but at least let me speak to that so that in relation to what I am doing already and we are doing with our groups.
I love that. I love how you have shaped the narrative to your story and how you're walking it. You're walking decolonizing of research in the African setting. And thank you so much for sharing that. Very, very inspiring. Um, we're wrapping up, and it's been an amazing talk. I've learned so much about you and your story. And
Thank
one
you.
thing that I picked up on is mentorship. Looking back, what role has mentorship played in your own journey? And you sort of touched on this, but just like um, the big lessons you learned from the key people who have imprinted on you. Would you mind just sharing a bit about that?
Hmm. I think mentorship is key in medical training. Um, a lot of medicine is science and art, and more so in pediatrics. So we learn the heart of the care from our mentors. You learn how to do the work. One of my very early mentors, not in pediatrics now, actually an obstetrician. He taught me how to listen to patients. Just listen. Just be I'm here. Just be present. I've never seen someone more patient with patients. than Professor Baloko. He is an obstetrician, but he would listen to the patient. Professor Wa taught me how to observe the babies. I mean, Professor Wa will come for ward rounds in the evening and he's just walking and just looking. And he's looking and I'm following him, the bloody resident, just running after him. So one day I'm like, what are you looking at? He said, I'm just looking at the babies. I said, show me what you are looking at. He's barely speaking. He's just looking at the babies. So I learned how to look at babies. Observation is everything for newborn. Of course, we examine our patients, but it's how they look, the color, the posture, the subtle seizures, the activity. It tells a lot about what the baby is going through. So I learned about observation. I learned research from my initial teachers when I was in another hospital in the course of my residency. They taught me research early on. Professor Ebeji, Professor Adebami taught me, Dr. Adebara taught me how to do work. Just be there. As a neonatologist, you really don't have free time. You really, even when you're at home. My children know about bilirubin from when they were small. They know about jaundice. They know. And then they call me, they say, Mommy, I hope your babies, they have oxygen. Is the CPAP working? And I got children.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, she taught me that a neonatologist is literally there around the clock. And then as I've grown now, I've learned about teamwork for people. I've learned about partnership. I've learned a lot from Alex and the team at ANA. I've learned a lot from the team at London School. I've learned a lot from the team at Vaughan. I've learned a lot from the team, the people that I've been privileged to work with at Gates Foundation. I've learned a lot from you today. I won't forget. I've learned I've learned a lot from obstetricians. I've learned from hospital managers. I've learned a lot. So it's all at every point in time. There's always um that room called forward. There's always that room for improvements. So learn. I tell people I learn about pediatrics in church. There's no classroom, but see how that woman is carrying her baby. See what she's doing. When she's in the hospital, you can relate. I learn pediatrics in the market. See what they are doing. I sit down with them, leave the doctor title at work. Sit down in the market and see what ordinary people say about babies and how to care for babies. Then you will learn about cultural practices. Then you will learn about mix. You don't let this happen to the baby. This is what will happen. If a baby has jaundice, you put breast milk in the eyes. If you don't sit in the community, you won't learn these things. And all this impacts our practice. I've learned a lot about research. I'm still learning. I've learned from Professor Joy Lon. I've learned from Angela Dramoski, research team, so many people. So we're always learning and keeping that attitude, that humility to know that you always need to learn. You never quite arrive. Just keep learning. I I don't think I can ever get away from that. Keep learning, keep teaching too. Learning, teaching, and
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that. Just always having a teachable spirit and moving with it wherever you go.
Mm-hmm.
Like whatever setting you're in, there's always something to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. It was really beautiful to listen to. Um, I think that would be a good note to conclude our lovely, inspiring talk. But before we end, um, how can our listeners connect with you? What's the best way to reach out?
On LinkedIn, you can find me Olufunke Bolaji.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
All right, great. So add Olufunke Bolaji's LinkedIn to the show notes. And yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Olufunke, for joining us today. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Global Neonatal Podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for always being supportive of the stories we share here. We hope you found this conversation as inspiring and thought-provoking as we did. And if you enjoyed it, don't forget to share it with your networks. And if there's someone you think we should have a chat with, as awesome as Dr. Olufunke Bolaji, please don't hesitate to reach out. Would love to hear your suggestions. Until next time, take care, keep making a difference wherever you are, and let's go faster together for newborn care.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.